All right, welcome back. Time for a little Last Chance Q and a conversation with Jason Brown. You guys remember from Last Chance U. You remember from this show. Jason Brown comes on and gives us some of the best quarterback evaluations, football evaluations, and sports evaluations on this show or anywhere you can find on these internets. JB, welcome back to the show. Before we get into your main topic, I wanted to give you a chance to break down what's going on with Lamar Jackson. I believe in his last maybe 7 games, he's got 6 TDs and 6 turnovers. They knocked off the Carolina Panthers yesterday, but didn't do it in impressive fashion. Lamar placed a big bet on Lamar Jackson, and I'm not sure. He may be losing some contract leverage. What are you seeing?
I mean, hate to say, I told everyone so, but he's just being Lamar Jackson.
No, you don't.
Great talent, great athlete. But once you start to schematically adjust in the NFL, like D coordinators do, we get paid a lot of money to do so. They start to get film on you, right? So there's been film now accumulated through the season, and we're into week 10 now. You've got 9 game films or whatever. And now you're starting to say, okay, let's pin our ears back. Let's do a few things schematically to keep him in the pocket, make him throw, which he does not want to do. That's not his strong suit. And in the NFL, I just don't think you can live and die with your feet. Look at Justin Fields. He's now possibly injured. The sustainability is just not there with this type of skill set. And I'm sorry, you got to be able to throw the football on time from the pocket. And this history has not only proven that, but I think I've been right on hitting the nail on the head here when I talk about these quarterbacks. Nothing personal. It's just the truth. And the truth is now setting some folks free.
I was watching the Colts-Eagles game and thought about you because Jalen Hurts made a couple of plays that were highlight plays. But I was watching him going, oh, JB hates this. He's just kind of running around, and with his feet, he ended up making a great play, and the announcers are all excited. But a coach is sitting over going, oh, my God, this is a nightmare scenario. And the Eagles got lucky yesterday and were able to pull it out. But I'm wondering, do you think there's any similarities between Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts?
There is. Jalen has increased his throwing ability because he went out and got better skill set wise. So he got technically sound over the offseason. His platforms changed, his throwing mechanics, his elbow height. We call this the platform. Last year he was real low. This year he's keeping his elbow high. The ball is being delivered a lot more fluently. He looks a lot better. But at the same time, his production just does not equal success. His production, touchdowns versus interceptions, I think he's got 15 touchdowns on the season, 4 interceptions. That's just not enough for me. For my starting quarterback in the NFL, I need 25 touchdowns by now. This is barely a touchdown a game. Like, we're barely a touchdown and a half a game. And this is the second week in a row, Jason. Jalen's thrown for under 200 yards. The production value just does not – you need chunk yards in the teeth of defenses late in the season to win playoff games. And 175 yards last week, they lost. 195 yards yesterday, should have lost, but they got it done. So he's still, a one-loss team, the Eagles. But it's starting to show, is this team – really that team that we're worried about in the NFC? Or is it now Dallas again? Or is it now Washington with the quarterback who I've said should have been replacing Carson Wentz weeks ago? And now he looks like he's a 5-1 quarterback all of a sudden. And the Washington Commanders are now a legitimate team to worry about just because of the energy, the defense they play, and the style they play. Now you have to worry about them. So Jalen Hurts, like I said, I just don't see him winning a Super Bowl just for the fact that he doesn't do more. The positives don't outweigh the negatives in a large enough margin. Let me say it that way. If there's not enough positive to the negative, it's kind of even. You know, he didn't throw any picks, coach, but he didn't throw any touchdowns either. That doesn't help me. Like I told a story on my show today, I threw 3 picks in a game, 2 of them pick sixes. I threw 6 touchdowns, though. We won the game. I don't care about throwing picks, but if your production value outweighs the average to negative, then that's what we need. And that's what you've seen Tom Brady throw 6 touchdowns in a game and 3 picks. So is Aaron Rodgers. But you know what? They won the game in the yardage, the chunk yardage, and the touchdowns get it done at the end of the day, which I think is the common denominator in winning Super Bowls.
All right. So yesterday you texted me or we talked, I can't remember, about your theory that there's an uptick in injuries in the NFL and the NBA, and you're relating it to the excessive weed smoking of professional athletes. You made me go look up studies that talk about bone density reduction from weed smoke. You told me yesterday your show this morning was going to focus on this topic. Could you unpack as best you can what you're seeing and explain this theory?
Yeah, so like over the weekend I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I hated weed around my teams, my players. When I was younger, we all grew up with this stuff. Everyone smoked weed. Everyone we grew up with smoked weed. The difference, I think, back then and now, and I hate to be that old man on the front lawn yelling, right? Everybody's going to say that. But the truth of the matter is, even the guys we played with, Jason, like you did at Ball State, like you did in high school, whatever it may be, what I did in junior college and college, the dudes on the team were like, you know what? We're buying into our brotherhood, our teammates. We're not going to screw this up. So we're going to cut down on the weed during season. And this used to be a conscious effort by the players. Like we used to hear that all the time, man. And the coaches would reiterate, hey, man, I know you guys smoke, but let's calm down. This is season time. And I think players understood it. We took it serious. And I'm looking around and I'm like, there's no way we have 900 professional athletes. And unfortunate, it's a demographic drug, right? It's a socio cultural drug that we talk about when we talk about marijuana. You know, you talk about white trash a lot in the backwoods. What is the drug of choice? Probably meth. The drug of choice in the hood, Jason. It's probably weed. Or it's crack. You know how many crack babies I've recruited and coached? So it is a cultural thing, in my opinion, as far as the weed goes. And what is the NBA 99% of? What is the NFL 99% of? African-American, black males. And I've been looking at this study, and I'm sitting there like, why do we have so many injuries? And why, when they are healing or come back, it is at a 75% slower rate than just 10 years ago. The return rate on an injury is 75% less now than it used to be. So it was 75% quicker just 10 years ago to return from an injury, especially a bone injury or a soft tissue injury or a muscular injury. Now I'm looking into this. I've talked to 6 doctors over the weekend. My mom's one as well, has been dealing with bones, but I said, you know what? I'm going to try to be as non-biased as possible. I'm not going to use her information she tells me on my show this morning, so I didn't. But what I have found out, like heavy cannabis users, they got lower hip bone mineral density, meaning if you look at Zion Williamson, what was wrong with him last year? Hip. Guess what he did afterwards? Blew up, blossomed, heavy. That is the number one common denominator when you smoke weed. Marijuana sits there and, okay, now my bones aren't healing like we once thought they would, or they used to, because we smoked so much, and now we're not healing. Plus, we are more susceptible to injury in the bone. And I brought up all these graphics today. I brought up all these pictures. I sent you a few. The NBA is riddled with bone fractures. The NBA has more hamstring and soft tissue injuries we've ever seen before. And that has to do, you got a hamstring injury, guess what? The bone supporting it is very, very brittle. And no one's talking about it. And Jason, I'm not sitting here saying it's factual. All I'm saying is, why has no one brought this up? And if it is a thing, maybe we come out and say, you know what, this is a real thing. Let's halt on the weed and the marijuana, and let's see what happens. Can we recover? Can we? And I had a guy on my show today. We argued it, and he smoked weed after he retired. And I said, listen, you had a bone issue. What made you retire from the NFL? I had a bone issue in my knee. I said, did you ever look into if it was weed? No. How did we know? That's all my point is. Like, what if this really is a thing? Jason, I'm just going to tell you, I've witnessed this playing with a buddy of mine who played. All he did was smoke every single day, no water. And from what I do know from my mom and other doctors, the intake of water needs to be 10 times the amount of what you inhale. And if we're inhaling smoke, and I don't care, let's not even talk about marijuana. Let's say cigarettes. Let's say cigars. Let's say any type of vape, whatever you want to do. That smoke gets into you. The microfibers of the smoke get into your bone marrow, into your bone, and it starts to deteriorate. And if you don't drink enough water, it makes your bones so brittle. Just like any dehydration, just like if we're taking, pre-workout, you got to drink 10 times the amount of water. You got hamstring pulls, you got torn muscles. Have to hydrate. You know damn well these cats ain't drinking water like we once did, and we're smoking weed higher than we ever have. John Morant, Zion Williamson, Kevin Love. It's come out documented. These guys smoke. So, like, I'm not saying it's bad or I'm not a hater on it. All I'm saying is, let's do some research, and in 10 years, this thing comes out and is really a fact why we have so many injuries and why we're not recovering. The Chargers, I pulled up rosters, Jason. 20, 30 players on each team have been injured or hurt because of either a fractured bone, a stress fracture, or some type of high ankle sprain. And then we have hamstrings at an all-time high. And I'm starting to put all the correlation together. I'm correlating everything. I'm like, you know what? This could be real, and no one wants to bring it up. And you know what, Jason, what's funny, and I'll leave you at this, anyone that's pro anything is always going to fight the fact that this could be something. And I had a chat of 500 people live today, and they're just, Coach, alcohol's worse. And I'm like, listen, that's not the debate. I've never drank a fifth of cognac and went out and played and found out, there's no correlation. This isn't a relative thing. I'm just saying that this could be a real thing. And if all the weed smokers in my chat, Jason, were hated me today, and everyone that was open-minded and said, dehydration, smoke, brittle bone, could be onto something. So anyone that's thinking outside the box and understanding anything at all in the medical field, you can probably look it up. And I actually got unfortunate. I had a nurse on today, and she said all her doctors totally agree and say that is a true thing. Bone density is a real thing, marijuana and smoke in general, and you do need to hydrate. And I don't think our youth is doing it enough, and I don't think we're doing it enough. And I'm just throwing it out there. Heavy cannabis use. I got these stats in front of me. It's like in the last 10 years, Jason, the recovery rate from professional athletes, basketball and football only right now. I haven't done anything else. But an interesting deal is, though, why isn't hockey players coming up injured every day with bone issues, with soft tissue, with muscular issues? And why are they returning so fast? Now, they may be taking a whole nother drug, but maybe weed ain't the one, because they're playing. They're available, Jason. And as you know,
let me ask, I want to ask this question, because I think the point you're making is very relevant. Is everything we've heard about weed smoke the last 10 years is like, it's one of the greatest things in the world. Helps your glaucoma. It helps you inflammation. It's everything's like weed smoke's the greatest thing in the world. And oh my God, if we all just smoke weed, it'd all be a happy place. It's too good to be true. There's nothing like that like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing in the world. It makes you fat. It makes you lazy. It messes with your attention span. It does so many negative things. And look, anything that is that popular in hip hop, I'm just sorry, it's not a good thing. There's not. That's like, oh yeah, killing black people. That's popular in hip hop. It's a bad thing. Oh, disrespect to women. It's popular in hip hop. It's a bad thing. Disrespect among black men. It's a bad thing. All of the things. And so, hip hop promotes weed smoke, and I'm supposed to believe it's the greatest thing in the world. I've never believed it. I used to smoke weed when I was in college. And occasionally, maybe my senior year when I was done playing football more. But you are right. I can remember in my day, and this is in the 80s, guys did I ain't doing this during the season. And we took the season seriously. And I can even remember, I'm not going to name the quarterback, but the players ran off a quarterback. They went to the coaches and complained that he was smoking too much weed during the season, and the players took it upon themselves to snitch on the dude and say he's not reliable, he smokes too much weed, sets a bad tone, and they ran him off the team. It's
the times have changed.
I agree. It's worth looking at. It's worth looking at and asking what are the ramifications.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's factual evidence. I'm just saying that there is some numbers out there, and I'm gonna say it like this, Jason. Compile that with lack of sleep with this youth, this generation, video games and cell phones at an all-time high. There's guys reports out there, these virtual reality glasses games these guys are going 20 hours straight without sleep. Now, compile that with smoking weed, which I know these players in the NBA and the NFL play video games at an all-time rate, don't sleep at an all-time rate, and smoke weed at an all-time rate. You compile all that together, and you look at the bodies of our professional athletes today. I wish I can share my screen because I can show you the NBA players that are hurt. They're not Dwight Howard looking dudes. These guys are sloppy. It's like in the NFL, the same thing with the NFL player. They're not the same guys that we want. There's no TOs no more. There's none of these guys that really cared about their bodies, NBA, NFL, otherwise, but we are caring about video games, smoking weed. And weed gives you the munchies, man. I'm not going to say nothing else, but I'm just saying it is very interesting at least to look at. And I've got some great data this weekend talking to 6 different doctors, 3 that I knew, 3 that I didn't, that I got to meet. And they all agree, and they all say, you know what? It is a very valid point. But guess what 2 of the doctors told me, Jason? I bet you nobody ever hears from it on mainstream media. You know why? Marijuana makes too much money for us. We make too much money. So why would we bring it up? Why would we bring up that it hurts the bones? Why would we bring up that it hurts recovery rates? It's just like the whole, any conspiracy theory you can ever think of. And, there's more in the pharmaceutical world than any other probably. That is another medication. And I'm not
JB, I'm gonna connect it to the conversation I was having at the beginning of the show about Kyrie Irving. Is the power brokers, the puppet masters, they want these athletes drunk, high, and stupid. They're easier to control. Put a joint in their hand, put a video game controller in their hand, put social media in their hands, go play with that, go smoke a joint, go tweet, go on Instagram, DM, and go play these video games, and shut up, we'll make all the decisions for you. And it's that they have legalized the drugs to make these guys more docile, more malleable, more simple, and it's worked. And you can't even have the conversation because, oh my God, now smoking weed is now a black thing, and if you don't smoke weed, you're not really black, and all this other stuff. It's a sad place. JB, I gotta let you go. Go. I get final thought, and I'm gonna let you go.
Hey, I'll leave you at this. I've never seen in my life as a player with a teammate, as a coach with a player, not one thing you can show me that is positive from smoking weed. Not one. I've never seen a guy go for 400 yards high as a kite. I've never seen a guy break 6 tackles and win me a football game. You know what I have seen? I've seen him miss assignments. I've seen him drop footballs. I've seen him blow assignments. I've seen him miss tackles. I've seen him miss weight room, study hall, and class. I've never seen guys just, this is the best thing ever. And if it was, Jason, I think we'd have a cure for cancer and everything else they're talking about. Why don't we? If it's so great. I'm just confused here on this whole weed thing. And I've never smoked, Jason. That's probably why I'm against it. But also at the same time, being around it in athletics, You know, I would find it hard to believe. I'm curious to see, Jason, the Virginia shooting, the New Mexico State shooting that just occurred. I'm hearing it's over weed and females, just from having buddies on in those programs. A shocker. It's about weed, and another black male or female gets shot over weed. No way. And people don't want to talk about it, though. It's unbelievable to me. That's just what it is. Hey, guys, by the way, Kyler Murray didn't play last week. Cardinals look pretty dang good.
They play tonight, don't they? Don't the Cardinals play tonight?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. They play. So we'll see if Kyler returns and what he does. Thank you, JB. I got to go. I can't think of one all-time great, not a Hall of Famer, but a great NFL player who couldn't practice or play unless he was high on marijuana. Andre Rison. So he would probably dispute JB. But anyway, that's tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.